Hello, Bravo bosses. This is the Bravo Investigator Podcast. I'm your host, Dana, and today we are covering part one of the Summer House reunion. Joining me today is Ryan Bailey. You know him, you love him from his podcast, So Bad It's Good with Ryan Bailey. We have the best time talking all things Summer House, all of the rumors, the nastiness. We get into it all. This is a really good one. I hope you guys enjoy the episode. Remember that you can follow me on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads at the Bravo Investigator. You can watch this episode on my YouTube channel and also join the Facebook group. I love you, BBs. I'll see you next time. Do that last week.
Yeah.
Ryan Bailey, welcome to the Bravo Investigator Podcast.
What's up? How's everybody doing? Everybody locked in?
Locked the fuck in. Ryan, okay, I know that you are one of Bravo's favorites, so you get the screeners. How far in advance did you watch the episode? And like, were you sort of like dying inside? Well, Zoom doing
wow.
something hilarious.
Wow.
It's really showing us how excited we are about Summer House. I don't know what that was, but yeah. How far in advance did you watch the screener? And was it like driving you nuts to have information that we didn't have yet?
No, you know what? This was great. They didn't give the screener until a couple hours before they released it, which I thought was, I mean, first off, it was Memorial Day holiday over here. So I think that was it. But also if you gave it to people on Friday, a lot of people I think would have leaked a lot of things. Not me, but a lot of people would have leaked it. I mean, I believe so.
Don't you sign an oath when you get those screeners?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, and by the way, I don't want my, it took me years to get to a place where I even get those, so I'm not gonna screw that up. But
No.
I was also excited just from a fan base perspective because I wanted to be one of the ones. I wanted to go in kind of cold. We already had all of those audio leaks anyways, and I was recording with Kaya yesterday, and I said, "Hey, we don't have it yet, which is great. I kind of like that, and plus, there's only so many hours in the day." But then after I recorded that, I think it was like I got it like four or 5 hours after I talked to her in the morning, and I got Rebecca and we watched it with the baby right there. So the baby's first word is timeline now.
I
And
love
no,
that.
it was,
Love that for her.
yeah, but it was great. But that doesn't kill me. You know what? It kills me with a couple people of like, I wanted, because the things that stood out to me were, oh, I think Amanda and Wes are completely lying. But more
Hmm.
importantly was that like, okay, Amia and her boyfriend are done. KJ going to the hospital, I thought was this huge piece of the storyline that I was so much, that I was fascinated in a way that was I don't want to say refreshing, but I thought I was going to be so focused on Amanda and West, and I was going to be pissed when they pivoted. But I found that very emotional and beautiful. So those were the moments where I was like, "Oh, wait till everybody sees this and gets their hands on it." But my overall impression was that Amanda, I mean West too, but Amanda, I'm like, I don't think you understand what happened here at all. And that to me, that was not only frustrating as a fan, but it made me really sad
Right.
because you can you can't leave watching that or even this whole experience with thinking like, man, Amanda really, if she didn't before, has some deep resentment against Sierra, like deep, like some kind of subconscious resentment where she might not even realize how deeply because I think she keeps thinking this timeline is going to excuse things when the timeline is so murky and
We
even
don't
their
care
facts.
if you cheated on Kyle. Like, I mean, we're interested,
Oh
but we
yeah,
don't like
no, I mean
care.
that's
We
not
care about
even in
Sierra.
the it's on the ether. Yeah. It's just that the
Yeah.
Sierra of it all is that, well, no matter how you cut this, or even Wes on his speech of like, I moved differently this time in like, because I do care about her as a friend. Like at the end of the day, you didn't because you wouldn't have then hooked up with Amanda because you knew that Amanda and her, like no matter how you want to cut it, those things that they gave themselves outs to excuse their behavior doesn't truly excuse their behavior. The great thing is we don't have to be them. So go off, go to Italy, even go further. I mean, when I found out they went to Italy yesterday, I was pissed. But then when I watched this, I was like, man, maybe they should go further. Maybe they should
Why were you
keep going
pissed?
further. Or, I was joking last night. I was like, oh man, is Italy going to waive extradition and like bring them back to face charges? But, they don't get it. So let them live in their stupid bliss. I don't think that's going to, at the end of the day, those aren't going to be the answers for the emptiness that they feel inside. And so they're going to ride this out, which I think no matter how you cut it, if they stay together, that's hysterical. If they don't, we told you so. And Amanda, just like Mia pointed out, I'm sorry, I'm blabbing, but Mia
No,
pointed
do
that
it.
out at the reunion. This is the time that she's focusing on herself after her breakup.
I loved that.
She wants to fill herself up. And it's like, that should have been Amanda. I mean, that should have, I mean, I've watched 10 seasons of this show and I now have to reconcile with the fact of maybe I didn't really like Amanda that much. Maybe I just thought Kyle's behavior was so abrasive that I thought, oh, by default, Amanda deserves better than this. But it seems like Amanda has learned nothing. And it also shows you how words can just be so much hot air, especially when they come out of Amanda's mouth. Because
Hmm.
Sierra, you believe it when she says, you're a friend, you're great, you're amazing, and pumping Amanda up. When Amanda says shit back to Sierra, there is no. There's no basis of that being something that Amanda truly means now.
No, that's so true. I mean, yeah, I mean, that's what everybody's been saying. You lied once, and now that just sort of becomes a thing where how can we believe anything else that you say? So, okay,
But it's not
let's
even
start.
lies. It's like
Yeah,
you say you're saying something like Sierra, you're my best friend. You don't mean that. That's not a lie. You think you mean it.
right.
Amanda does not have the tools capable of being a strong person, and it just shows in the fact that she does get out of this relationship, and the fact that she said this little line in the reunion. I don't think people caught of like I had an awakening. If you had a awakening, you would actually be like awakening to find who you are as a person, not oh I'm now with Kyle in a different font. Like that, it's not an awakening for you. You're an awakening. It's not, you're doing the same thing. You're going, okay, I'll be with his friends. They like me. They think I'm funny. I can handle my drinks with them. I'm like a new Amanda. Old Amanda wouldn't go out. I'm new Amanda that does go out. No, you're just like you're hearkening back to 10 years ago when you first started out with Kyle and you were trying to
Right.
impress him and fold yourself into his personality. I don't know if Amanda truly knows who she is and watching her reactions, I'd love to blame it just on drugs, but it was so weirdly cold and snotty and mean girl and devoid of basic human empathy and emotion.
The eye rolls, the fuck
Sorry, I'm
yous,
just
all
fire.
of
I'm
that.
already fire. This is the first time talking today, so
No,
it's
you know what? I appreciate it all because, like, let's just word vomit this. There doesn't need to be any order to it because you're so right. I expected more accountability, but then when I saw that Bravo pre-reunion clip that they had released, I was like, oh, that's weird. The Q&A that they did with Amanda and Wes. I was saying to our friend Yana Firestone in our episode yesterday, I am no body language expert, but it really didn't give to me that she was nervous at all or that she felt any accountability at all. So I saw a lot of that in her during this reunion. And did you also notice that every time somebody came at her, she looked like mouth agape, like oh my god, like oh, like she was really shocked by how people were reacting to her. And
she
you know
was
how they,
shocked in a very contained way, because
yeah,
shock you can go like, wait, if you're shocked, there's usually a vocal tick that will go along with shocked, where you'll be like, no, 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 you'll spit something out. She was restrained, shocked, so it was very weird, and a lot of people are saying she's on beta blockers or something like that. But I do want to push back a little. Like, I'm on beta blockers. I'm on beta. I take beta blockers every day of my
Paige
life.
takes
I have
beta
a
blockers before her shows, right? And
Oh
then
yeah,
goes
but
out on a
I take it every
stage.
day. I have a straight shake. I have a shake in my right hand that I have to control, like, and I've had that forever. I am nervous all of the time, and I'm on one right now, and it doesn't deaden you. It just makes certain physical attributes, like my shake will calm down.
Hmm.
It will, like, you still have the same thoughts and feelings, and I'm still able to express myself and be excited and all of those things. It just, there is a calming effect, but not in the sense of like a Xanax or something. There's no like, oh, I'm going to take a beta blocker and just watch TV and just zone out. It's not like that at all. You're still able to participate in life.
Well, what was West on? Because him starting this reunion with I feel really zen, again, it's just so out of touch with
I think it's a cup of insanity when he comes in. First off, we have to allow that it's shocking to see them in the same room, just like Carl said, to see them
it,
in the
it,
same
it
room.
felt inorganic in a way, like, whoa.
Yeah, to come in, I think it was so unnatural because he was acting like it was so natural. Of like, hey, what's
Right.
up, hon? And by the way, you can kind of see a shot of like two makeup artists in the corner really briefly. And I was like, God, if I could interview them,
Right.
like that room had to be chilling in so many ways. And I get that, if you're going down with the Titanic and that's who's in your boat, there's gonna obviously a familiarity, but it was super weird. Like I just feel like going into this, you would have been so much more frantic and a mess. And I don't know. Like there is this sociopathy, which, it's not sociopath. Like I don't think they're out there killing people yet. But there is,
There's still
I don't
time.
know. There was something so unnatural about it because they acted so natural. That's what shocked me.
I think that Sierra saying to Andy before that she felt more betrayed by Amanda makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
She said she was shocked by West. It just, it really is such an insane betrayal. And I have maybe a moment, maybe once a week, maybe twice a week, where I'm just like, oh my God, I cannot believe this actually happened, right? It's
Yeah,
it's really just so
because
wild.
there were so many chances to stop this.
Yeah.
Um, and what shocks me is like the preview for In the City next week, Sierra and West are sitting across from Amanda, and you're like, oh
On the
my
same
God.
side,
So
almost
like
like they're a couple.
but just to show the audio or the audience that still doesn't understand why this is a big deal of like they were both in Amanda's lives. Like, it's like they were still in Amanda's life, or even Sierra was still in Amanda's life. And she pointed that out at the reunion. How many times did I call to try to hang out with you? How many times? And you ducked me. And Amanda's like, no, I have other friends. That's all bullshit. She had West friends, and everybody
Right.
called her out on it. And it was
Right.
like somebody feebly trying to lie of like, you don't think I have other friends? I just don't post them, which is ridiculous because those other
Most,
friends are like, am I not cool enough to be posted? You're only posting the influencers that West hangs out with.
oh, good
Um,
point.
I, I mean, you're like, wait a sec, that's insane to your other friends. Poor Katie DeLuca is having to leave the country as well because she fully name dropped her. But where are those friends? Where are those friends standing up for Amanda? I mean, and I think West is going to be fine regardless. I don't mean with Bravo, but just in life because he has a segmented life in the sense that he does a lot of sports stuff and the sports reality crossover is there, obviously, but it's not there in the sense of it's like he could still do sports and people not know who the F he was or what he does
Right.
on Bravo.
Right.
And so I think he has that segmented life. Amanda is a very curious example. I don't know if she's just going to be a wag, like a sports player's wife or a sport. I don't know, but it is very obvious that she co-opted aspects of West's life and she almost misplaced that as like I'm building my own life when it was like no, you were just a part of. Mia clocked
You're
it.
an
Mia's
addendum
like
to his life.
you're one of like you did all of this because to be one of West Side bitches because. And wouldn't it be, and by the way, wouldn't it be so funny if like we know so many people that Wes has dated or slept with and all that, but this is the one Wes is like, no, this is in game. Like that would be, I mean, that would be wild. I still wouldn't support it, but it would be hysterical if this is, I'm more curious if you look at like, you got to look at all of the past and that does inform the future. So with Wes, you're like, what are you thinking? Either you're like, I do have to ride this out for a little bit before I can cut loose,
That's what I
or
think he's thinking.
is West is deeply in it and going, oh my God, I am so weirdly in love with this girl. And if that's the case, maybe he's weirdly in love with this girl because it caused so much wreckage. Or he is just like, I got to ride this out. Hey, the sex is fun. I like having sex with women. That's crazy. But you have to, if he's thought this through with like Mia and all of these people and trying to juggle all these things, he does have to have some sort of end result in his mind. Because he even said with Sierra at the end of this episode, he goes, listen, the second time around, I didn't sleep with her. That was a huge thing. And I was very, I didn't respond to her nearly as much. I didn't communicate with her. So he, in his head, was saying, okay, this is why this works for me because I'm not leading her on as much as I did the first time, which means he's cognizant of those thoughts and feelings and actions. He's very cognizant.
Ugh. Okay, let's talk a little bit of the timeline because that's the part. Okay, well, before that, I'm curious your thoughts on what Sierra said about how we don't really know him outside of the show, because which ties into the timeline, right? Because we find out, or we know, because we're Bravo sleuths, we know that he had this prior relationship with this girl Miha, right? The one who had the horsehair tie. We know that
I
he was
was
a watch
shocked that she spent the night before Watch What
the
Happens
night
Live. That was new
before.
information to me. That was new information.
But timeline wise, okay, let's say that what Amanda and Wes is saying is true, which it's not. But what they've said is that they kissed for the first time. They said end of February, but the date on the screen was March the 1st. So let's go with March 1st because February is a short month and people may have forgotten that there is no February 29th or 30th. So maybe that's why they kept saying end of February. But March March the 1st, okay?
Or as the
Then,
summer house people would do, February 31st, 5th.
right.
Yeah.
And then, so he would have slept with Miha on the 23rd. Then they released the joint statement on the 31st. They didn't sleep together that night, but maybe let's say April 1st. Let's say they slept together the next night. That's a week later. Amanda,
April
ew,
1st is also April
ew.
Fool's Day, which means it's
Right.
kind of a lie. So, um, no, I mean, I'm not going to say anything that nobody's, I mean, we've all been thinking this, but they release that statement and then they sleep together. Like, you don't
No,
release that intense of a statement unless you are locked in. And usually, locked in for adults means that there has been some sort of sexual fluid exchanged. And I'm sorry, just like, because you like, it was very PG, just like over the clothes. Like, what are you talking about? It was like, you would
OTPHJ.
see, like, I realized that was insane. We've ended it. We've realized how much pain we've caused. So it was almost like that. We're supposed to take that statement is some sort of foreplay, like some sort of like, oh, we're turning each other on with like coming up with this. And it was just so intense, this statement we put out that we had to have sex. It was the next, like, or did they make some sort of devil's pact where they were like, once we tell everybody, we can have sex then? And it was like a reward to each other for like finally telling the truth.
It's
But
so
I think
true.
it's much different than that. I think they had sex way before. I mean,
Of
that's
course.
it. I think they're lying, and I think they're the only two people that might be lying. And the thing that is killing me, and we won't really know until the next two parts, but if you look at that leaked audio, which usually syncs up to what we've already seen, they talk about this alleged video, and
Yes, I'm glad you're
that's
bringing this
why
up.
Wes says, well, we were in such a rush with that statement. And in the
Right.
leaked audio, it brings up this video that was out
Hmm.
there that they were threatened with. Now, what's really bothering me is that looks like it got cut out. So I don't know if there's a legal issue with talking about that video, but everybody needs to know that there was this video. And if we don't get a straight answer on that, that's my number one thing. Like, what was the deal with the video? Because it's in the leaked audio. And if
Yes.
we didn't have that leaked audio and they don't have it in the next two parts, we would have never even, we had heard rumors about it from like Demois and all that months and months ago, but that
Right.
was our first vocal confirmation in that leaked audio. But if they cut that out, I really want to know why.
And the video was allegedly of Amanda in her underwear and of them hooking up. So if you guys didn't hook up until after the statement, then
Well, it
why were
could have
you
just
so
been making
worried?
out. In the leaked audio,
And
Amanda said that they never saw the video either, I believe, in that leaked
did she?
audio,
Okay.
but she said, but we didn't know what it was exactly.
But you did enough that you, she said, I think she said something like in a vulnerable position or in a vulnerable state.
Well,
Didn't
but I
she?
don't think she exactly, but she's like, but she didn't know what that vulnerable state exact. Vulnerable state can be
But
making
what
out,
could
it
it,
can mean sex.
right. I mean, but if you guys were just kissing at this point, which I really don't think is what was going on,
But
like obviously
what it
more
seemed
was in this
like,
video. Why else would you be so
it
freaked out?
seemed like that's what rushed them to make that statement. We
Right.
got to make that statement because we're being threatened with the leak of the
That's
release
what
of
they
this
said.
video. Yeah. But
Yeah,
if
that's what
we don't
Amanda
get
said.
that, if they cut that out, that's to me a huge piece of this, which would be frustrating.
Right. And it doesn't like
And wait,
tie into the
this
timeline.
is something I'm just thinking of. Oh my God, what
What?
if? Well, no, this is crazy. What
Okay.
if that thing got leaked because they knew that Bravo was going to edit it out? So they said, no, we're going to leak this just so people have confirmation that there was a video. That's me with it. That's my Kyle tinfoil hat. Sorry,
Wait, so
guys.
the person who got fired was actually like a vigilante
Yeah, it was like Batman. Yeah,
as he sips his Superman mug
yeah.
or Spider-Man, sorry. Wow. Okay. I want to talk the dick pics for a second because, I've never taken one as someone that doesn't have one. I am just so curious, like, you know, the way that West has been reacting to everything, and again, maybe it's just we don't know him, but the way we see him on his podcast, it's very like I want to call it mute because Sierra uses that word later to describe Amanda, but like very passive, I guess, in the way he speaks. And he did the same thing with the dick pics. He's like, oh well, they're all over Missouri, right? And who does
Well,
take a flaccid dick pic? Like, what is the purpose of that?
I'm not taking a dick pic, so I don't. I mean, but I'm older, so I think that's maybe
Before
it's
your
a young
time?
man's game.
Sure.
But I will. The dick pic thing is interesting for so many reasons. First off, because that was sent to me, and that was sent to me right at the like I don't know what day it was, but it was I guess the week of the reunion or maybe the week before. I can't. And I went on, I was so tired. Like I'm barely getting any sleep these last 2 months because of the baby.
Right.
And I was doing the intro to the show or something, and I was like, "Oh, and by the way, this got sent to me." And I was joking about it because I was like, "It doesn't. I don't know why you would like send these to people, because I was like, he's sending these to girls. I don't know why you're sending these to people." And the next day, I woke up to just a flood. I got like death threats over that thing. I think people
But it was
misunderstood.
sent to you.
I didn't leak the photo. Like I don't like, but I will say that it seems like that wasn't, nobody hacked his phone. I think the people that he potentially sent that to gave those over. That's how
Right.
I took that to be, but I don't think anybody hacked his phone. I mean, but I do find it interesting. I mean, and by the way, I edited that out. I felt like, oh, that is shitty of me joking. I was tired. I shouldn't have been doing that. It's not that is an invasion. I realized pretty immediately that was bad. But I am curious, and the only way it's like when you have somebody that's like lied so much or that you're suspicious, then everything could potentially be a lie. So I
Right.
thought it was interesting that he discovered this when he sat down, when everybody else had already knew about it, been sent it. Kyle's laughing about it, Jesse's laughing about it. So the moment he sits down on camera with everybody, he says, "Oh, I think my dick pics are out there. That's crazy." And part of me thought, was this to elicit some sort of sympathy in front of everybody? Not that he leaked his own dick pics, but I mean, that truly happened. But was that a way that he's something he already knew, but he's going to throw that out right now just to remind people how crazy it's gotten for him? So maybe take it easy.
Do you think he's that manipulative, or do you think he's
I don't think
how
manipulative and evil, but I think he's not wanting to get. We already saw him 2 years ago. He's not loving getting beaten up on. Like I mean, he does want to soften as many blows as possible. I would imagine.
right?
I don't think that's purely manipulative evil, but I do think it's like if I can steer things in one direction, and that's why I think them saying timeline and stuff was crazy too, because it almost like, well, once you get the timeline, you're going to realize this was kind of fun and flirty, and it's like, no, I don't. I think you guys are in too deep where you don't understand what people are genuinely upset about, and if you listen to Wes podcast this week, we recapped it on the pod. So if you don't want to listen to it, and I'm sure you did here too, is his co-host is like, it doesn't seem like the co-host watches the show or something because she's like,
No,
"Did you tell him that you never really dated Sierra?" And I'm like, "You doofus! It's not just that. Like, it's not that it was
it's way
that
more
there was."
nuanced than that.
And also, there's the Amanda of it all with Sierra. Like and there was constant lies. So
Right.
the co-host almost seems like that Sierra was painted as this crazy woman that just kept after West and was one of those women that wouldn't let. Oh, she's kind of psycho potentially. Like that's what that one line coming out of that host like meant to me was that like, oh, I bet he's painted her as this crazy woman that won't let Wes go, and that's what this all started from. I could be
Yeah.
wrong.
I mean, she was also making that point because we saw it in the reunion trailer where Sierra says, like he's only with you to spite me. And there's like
Yeah.
a divide about that on the internet. Some people are like, the problem is, Sierra, he was never thinking of you. But then there's like clips that are surfacing where he was on Jason Tartick's podcast and said, like, I'd want to cut her basically. Like, we obviously know he had resentment towards her. That's
Oh
obvious.
wait,
They
by the
haven't
way,
spoken.
cut her from the show, not cut her with a knife.
Yeah, of
You
course, of
said want to
course.
cut her. Yeah, you didn't want to
Yeah,
cut her with
cut her
a
from
no.
the
You wanted to
show.
cut her from the show. Yeah.
Yes. But so he must have had some resentment towards her, right? And so I don't know. What do you think about that? Do
How
you do
would
you
you
think there's
not
any
have
element of that?
subconscious resent? I don't. I think a lot of things that we do are subconscious and they're not
Right,
fully conscious, or they might be conscious years after we do them. We
right.
go, you know what? In retrospect, I was really messed up. And if even if Wes was the one that caused all of this, you're still taking heat. And he's made so many points of saying like, "Oh, the Bravo audience really had it in for me after that first season. I got hell." And so you can't help like, and by the way, Sierra had to apologize to him this season like, "Oh, I'm so sorry I wasn't there for you during that time." Like Sierra had said that in that episode, which I was like, "Girl,
Right.
that's crazy that you said that. That was his own doing." But how do you not, I would imagine subconsciously he might have really held that against her of like, how dare you? Like, I'm a good person. And I think that's the thing is that these people that think like, well, I don't want to kill people. I'm not a bad person. And it's not listen, I just don't think either of these people have a strict moral code, and that's fine. A lot of us have, a lot of us, maybe not this crazy of a situation, but have been in situations that are crazy. It's just that the Bravo audience, it gives us this pole position of being like judge, jury, and executioner. And we
Right.
sometimes want better for them than we want for ourselves.
Hmm.
And so it also, does a black and white kind of thing of, well, that's good and that's evil, even though there's tons of gray. But I think even this, like if you're attracted to somebody, like Amanda said, the heart, you can't help who you're attracted to. Yeah, you can't help who you're physically attracted to. Yes. I mean, I'm sure every day you're physically attracted to images but there's also this, first off, you can't be with most people you're attracted to, and people have realized
Absolutely.
that at a certain age. But secondly, you can stop yourself, like
Yes.
and
And
I
the
think
moment
some
she felt something,
haters.
she should have been like, you know what? I'm gonna need to pull back from this friendship.
Well, and also if you are, as good of a friend with Sierra, there obviously was no clear line of communication where Amanda's like, hey, like I've had friends that have told me hard truths that I have not wanted to hear, or just been like so honest with me that I don't even maybe understand in the moment. But in retrospect, I'm like, wow, that was like really awesome of them. Like that was so I mean, they really wanted me to know, even though it could potentially hurt me or it could potentially make me feel some sort of way, but they couldn't live with themselves unless they were open and honest about that. And so if you were having these conflicting feelings that you didn't understand, well, you talk to Kyle and you talk to Sierra, you talk to those things and say, listen, I think I'm going to explore this and I want to let you know. Now, yes, that sounds so hard and so impossible, but because that sounds so hard and so impossible, just shows you the weight of all of this to begin with.
And that's why I just don't understand why they're not understanding the weight of it. Again, they keep thinking it's about this timeline. I do want to talk about the January 17th of it all. And I want to remind everyone that Kyle and Amanda released their split statement on January the 19th. But Sierra said in this reunion that on January 17th, which was when she first suspected something, which I'm surprised about that it was that late in the game, considering the way they were acting with each other last summer. But, we all watched that with a different lens. But she says that on January 17th, she tried to contact Amanda to hang out with her and Mia, and she didn't answer the phone, and then she checked Amanda's location and she's at West House, and not until Mia put her in a group chat with Sierra did she answer the phone. So, her excuse for that is like, well, he was a friend of mine, he was there for me or whatever. But I really like, and there was like sleepovers that were happening apparently around that time as well. Oh, and another thing that came out in the leaked audio was around this time about how she didn't answer for 15 hours. So I don't know if that was also January 17th or like a different day where Sierra tried to contact her, saw her at West House, and she didn't respond for 15 hours, because I do remember something about that from the leaked audio. But I was really surprised that no one really thought anything until mid-January. But do you truly believe this goes back to June of 2025, I guess is my real question.
I believe there's an emotional relationship, and
Yeah,
I mean, I will say I'm not a huge like blinds person, but
right.
there was that blind in June that called this out. And even Kyle, it's so funny. Like Kyle is kind of one of us, like, and
Yeah,
Kyle does listen and pay attention to all of
I
this.
know.
And you're like, well,
Threading
where was
away.
that? I mean, where did that blind come from? Like, that's a pretty accurate blind. Like, and I guess you can just guess those things. But that is a pretty accurate blind. I mean, part of me was like, they say it happens in February, and I was like, which February? February of
Yeah, right.
2025? February of 2024? Which year? Like, which statement? Do you mean your statement or do you mean Kyle's statement? And Kyle and
Right.
Amanda's like, there's all of these little inconsistencies
Which
that
were
I
like
could say,
3 weeks apart.
you could, we're telling the truth on a technicality, but
Right.
I God. And also, I think when alcohol's involved, which alcohol is really involved with Wes, and I do believe other substances, and I don't mean
Yeah,
like this guy's an addict. I don't mean anything like that. But like, I'm sorry, this is like there's a party atmosphere. Like I've
sure.
been in that place where like like I mean, I truly believe, and I've said this, but I truly believe on that last night when he's making out with Sierra that they were rolling on ecstasy. I completely believe. Like when you're nuzzling up, feeling ear stuff, there's a romantic. They're also up till like 5:30 in the morning. Like these
What does
are
he mean ear stuff? We saw them kiss on the lips. What are you saying? What are you
Because
saying? What are you
they showed he was like nuzzling into her ear. So it was like, you
Okay.
know, I don't want to get graphic, but a little lick of the ear, a little, he's probably whispering sweet nothings like, I wish you were Amanda, you know, like, he, you know,
But they
like
did
ear
kiss on the
stuff.
lips. So what's the
They
difference,
did
right?
kiss on
Like
the
which
lips, but I think what he means that it started off with some ear stuff. Like he was probably nuzzling in there, and then he probably tested the waters with a little tongue flip. I mean, it's all gross and it's all weird, and that's how Wes thinks of it as like kind of a child of like, yeah, we did some ear stuff, and then we moved to, you know. So that's what I think. But I don't know. I do not believe they waited until after that thing to have sex because West also made such a big deal of how long he like Sierra made him wait for sex that first season.
Oh,
Like he was
right.
like, "Well, why can't we be
Yeah.
intimate?" Like that was a thing for him. And it seems like he's like a body count kind of guy from and so unless that was and I'm so sorry. This is probably so gross to speculate, but unless that was Amanda's
Kink.
like her bartering chip, like, you know, no, not yet. I'm going to make you wait. Like, and
Hmm.
that's the other thing too. When the Mia stuff gets brought up, Andy's like, did you know about this? And she goes, yeah, we had a whole conversation. And I was like, okay, so that's interesting. So you knew he was dating this Mia girl, and you're like,
And that
fuck her
and then
too.
you guys
Fuck
slept together like a
Sierra, and
week
also
ago.
fuck. But also, if you knew like he was seeing this person, you then, as Amanda, you're also knowing Sierra is going to be upset, Kyle's going to be upset, but this Mia girl who you don't know, but Wes is seeing, you're like, yeah, fuck her too. Screw her too. I'm going to totally ignore what you just said about you seeing her, and we're going to get into something. So it seemed like multiple people they didn't care about.
For sure, but I think that Wes probably really downplayed what was going on with Miha to Amanda
How are
slash
you
everybody
downplaying that if
else.
she's stayed at your place the night before Watch What Happens Live and you're wearing the horse tie and all of that stuff?
Yeah. Well, in terms of being in like a exclusive relationship, let's say. Like, yes, I think Amanda was well aware that he was sleeping with different people, which I cannot comprehend because if you guys you that was the other thing I wanted to mention. In one of his podcast clips, he said like things were getting serious in February, and that's when this started. So, but you guys didn't kiss till March 1st. So what is this seriousness? And it's like what Sierra said about you guys put so much thought into this, and we know you're lying, but regardless, let's say you're telling the truth. It's actually worse because you guys put so much thought into the pre stuff. Because if you guys didn't kiss or any of that, that meant you guys were like talking about being together for like a while and putting a lot of thought into it before you went physical. That's worse. It would make more sense if you got drunk, you were rolling on this, and you went and had sex, and you go, "Oh my God, we crossed the line. Is there something going on here?" Blah blah blah, and
Yes,
then you get into
yes,
it. But you put
yes.
so much thought into it, or is what you
It
said you
wasn't like
did.
this. If you're putting so much careful consideration thought in it, part of your careful consideration would be to get the clearance from your friends. Like
Right.
that's what I'm saying. The careful consideration doesn't add up at all. And your theory right there adds up way more to me. And the other thing is, and listen, I'm not saying this is a bad thing. If you're single and ready to mingle, hook up with as many people as you want, as long as everybody's like consenting adults, go for it. And that's what we
I'm a
do know
germaphobe. It
about.
just grosses me out.
Well, that so you wouldn't be into it. But I'm saying
No.
what we know about West is that it seems like he's a quantity kind of guy. You know, like there's a
Sure.
lot of stories out there about him. And by the way, people willingly, nobody's like, oh, West Fort, nothing like that. So I want to
Right.
make that clear. This was, but it seems like he was very aware that he liked to have sex with a bunch of different people and liked to fool around. So you're saying then also Amanda started being a part of this friend group just to show her the streets, right? But West, I think, you know, just by nature of how he hangs out with women, unless you're completely insecure, but West we know is not completely insecure. So you can't even go on that thing of like, well, I didn't know a girl liked me. I just thought we were friends. You can't do that because you know everybody likes you. So West is pretty aware pretty quickly that I bet I could pull her. I bet I could pull her. You know, and that's what I think his mind does is like, how can I pull these women? And especially these very hot, beautiful women, not just the people on Summer House, but women in general. So I would imagine his head was there pretty quickly of like, I wonder if I could pull Amanda. And even how he tells it, like, am I crazy? Is there something here? So even that's interesting because it's a form of a question, which means she has to do the heavy lifting and say,
Mm.
yeah, there is.
And
Like,
she's
am I
lazy, so you
crazy?
shouldn't
Are
be
you
leaving it on her.
gaslighting me? Or is there something? Are you gaslighting me, Amanda? Is there something here? Which I think it was way before that. But it is interesting in how he presents that. Like, we're supposed to be
Yeah.
like, do you feel this magnetic pull? And I do wonder if that is true, how many times Wes has used that same line on other women of like, am I crazy? Is there something here?
You're totally right because like he has all of these like women friends, right? And I'm sure it all turns into more. Even the way he introduced Miha on Watch What Happens Live, he's like, "Oh, my friend Miha made this for me," right? Like, yeah, you have a lot of these friends. Um, what do you think about Kyle though in terms of friendships? Kyle is trying to play up his friendship with Wes. I'm curious your thoughts. Like he actually said on Kelly and Mark that Wes was one of his best friends. And I feel like we're getting a little bit into like Jax and that Julian guy territory. Like I definitely think that Kyle has a right to be upset here, very much so. And I think he was friends with Wes, but I don't know. Like, how close do you think these two guys were? He keeps going on and on about how, like, I went to his house. Well, everybody went to his house. We went to Toronto.
Yeah, yeah.
It was a Hey You
By the
event.
way,
It was a Hey You event.
Rebecca said like his house is like a seduction place. It's like, yeah,
He
like
brings everybody
I
there,
wouldn't be shocked if Kyle slept with West at some point. Like it's
right?
like, um, I well, listen, I don't really completely discredit what Kyle is saying because what we know about Kyle, and I don't mean this negatively, is that he seems to be able to have stronger relationships with men or even potentially more emotional relationships with men.
Good
It seems
point.
like at a certain point, and I'm talking not deeply in, but it was not an emotional relationship with Amanda. It would always shock me in terms of like how they just said they didn't communicate when they got back to the city. Like there was
Hmm.
just no communication. So we knew more about the relationship than they did. Like he would talk about it with other people, or Amanda would talk about it with Paige and Sierra. So I was always shocked at like how little information, or like there's no way. Cause I'm like, well, I talk to my partner every day. Like, I mean, like, I just couldn't believe that. But then as the show went on, I did believe that. But it seemed like he was having these deeper conversations with his drinking buddies. And I will
Yeah,
say, when you're in those kind of drinking scenarios, or I would imagine TV bonds you and low level celebrity bonds you, that you would think, like, we're damn close, and like buying into those moments that you're creating on television. And remember also, then we, the audience, get a hold of it. So we see a moment and we'll be like, man, it was really beautiful when Ben hugged Kyle in the closet, man. Kyle needed that. Like we then make those moments even bigger than they actually are and feed
right.
that back like a loop system to them. So Kyle's like, wow, Ben really loves me. That's really good. He's really one of my best friends. And so I
Yeah,
can see a world in which we celebrate these men and these women. And so that feedback is like, yeah, this is one of my good friends. I will say though, watching this season back, there were moments when I thought West hated Kyle. There was moments where like I like West rolling his eyes,
hmm,
and I've said this ad nauseum, this story. So I'm sorry if anybody's is that I was at that Bravo Super Bowl party in San
right.
Francisco the day of the Super Bowl. West and
February
Kyle
the
were
8th,
both on
right?
that boat,
Is that the
February
date?
the 8th.
Okay.
I believe so. Yeah, it was whatever that Sunday was of Super Bowl. They were both there,
Hmm.
and it was the that week, the Tuesday episode was going to be the episode where Kyle was at the bar with the guys and going, "She's a fucking slob. She smokes weed all the time." And that was that episode. I'd already seen that episode. They gave it like out on Friday, so I'd watched it going in. So I think it was West was the first one on that boat, and he immediately was I was like, "Hey man, how you doing?" Because I thought Wes was awesome.
Yeah.
And we've seen each other a couple of times in the past, and it came up about that episode. I think he was like, "Did you see it?" I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Fucking," I was like, "That was crazy, man." And that Kyle, and he's like, "Yeah, dude. Ugh, God, I hate that." At this point, according to Brianna Chicken Fry and Dave Portnoy, Brianna Chicken Fry had told Dave Portnoy that Wes Wilson and Amanda Batula were already a thing. And Dave
Which
Portnoy
again,
had no
timeline
reason to
doesn't add
lie because
up.
he didn't watch. He watches Summer House now, but he didn't watch then. And so
Right.
he wasn't surprised about this. So that is happening. I'm talking about Kyle and Amanda to Wes Wilson, and
Hmm.
I was not thinking, there was no even part of my mind. And also, I also thought like I was one of those people that didn't think Sierra and Wes should get back together. I was like, and I liked both of them at the
Same.
time. I was like,
Same.
no way. So I didn't ask him like, how are you and Sierra? Even though at the halftime of the Super Bowl they went and took this picture, and everybody was like, oh my God, he's such a good friend. He's such a guy. So then Kyle gets on the boat later to DJ, and he comes up to me and he's like, "What's up, dude?" And then he actually goes, "Did you see this week's episode?" And I was like, "Yeah, it's not good, man." And he's like, "Yeah." He seemed like he felt really bad about it. He was also wearing his wedding ring,
Hmm.
and
Oh,
but like
interesting. Oh, that's
him and Wes were
interesting.
taking
They were
pictures
separated at that point.
together. Him and Wes were taking pictures together, the whole thing. It was so bizarre in retrospect. So bizarre
Yes.
in retrospect. I did not think anything of it except first time I thought Kyle was a good DJ. I was like, this his mixes are pretty good. But I just thought, oh, Kyle's in for a very bad season after watching that
Yeah.
episode. I was like, Kyle came off so badly in that episode, but there was not a part of him. Like Amanda didn't even come. It was just like,
Why
oh,
would it?
I feel so bad for Amanda. In fact, there's a video on the Bravo TV website or the Bravo TV Instagram on the boat where I'm like, they're asked like, who do you think is going to have the biggest glow up this season? And I chose Amanda Batula. I was like, Amanda, she's going to fly free. It's amazing. It was crazy. So I know
But it was
that
actually
part.
Kyle. Have you seen him lately? He's looking great. He's had the best
Oh,
glow.
it's like a vampire. He's like feasting off of his own misery, and Carl as well. Like they just look so great. Um, but yeah, no, it was crazy. I just think the Brianna chicken fry thing and Brianna chicken fry. You're probably not listening, but you like to talk about Summer House too. So at some point, you're going to have to answer this and figure out if you want to lie to everybody or if you want to tell the truth, because you were pissed that Dave Portnoy came out with that and you said it.
Hmm.
So you stood by that. So if now you decide not to stand by that, but to me, that breaks up the timeline completely of what they're saying.
Exactly. And I hope everybody calls them on that. And I guess the last part of the timeline that was just sort of fascinating to me that came up during the episode was Amanda and Sierra talking on March 5th and March 7th. And basically Sierra saying, like, are these rumors true? Is this what's going on? I'm asking you point blank. Have you guys held hands under a table? Have you guys had sex? Have you guys kissed? And she said, no, it's just the internet being psychos. The diabolicalness of lying like that is just wild to me. I mean, at this point, it would have been, according to Amanda and West's timeline, only a kiss, but again, still a lie. And I don't know I wonder, sort of like what you said at the beginning, more so about West. Like, what was her long term game plan here? What was she going to do with Sierra? Like, I know you said, like, yeah, maybe she could have approached them, but there was no way that Sierra would have ever been okay with this. I think she knew that. So,
Okay,
given that,
but think about what we know about, and I also I'm fine with being mean in certain situations, but this
do
might
it.
come off as mean. Is Amanda's lazy
Yeah.
from
As a
everything that we've
feminist, I
been
hate saying
told?
that, but yeah, she's
No,
lazy.
no, and by the way, like I'm not lazy at podcasting, but I'm lazy at everything else.
Me
So
too.
is that I think Amanda, it seems like the show presents the story that she probably sets up a lot of situations in her life that she doesn't know how to complete. That
Hmm.
she's going on just gut feelings or what she wants in that moment. And I don't think she had any game plan. I don't think she had any game plan except for what was right there in front of her and made her feel good
So
in that
stupid.
moment. And if Sierra wasn't involved, like the Kyle thing, we would have like been like shocked, but it wouldn't. But the Kyle Amanda relationship was going to fracture. It was already fractured. It was already going to be out the door. Whether they got back together was going to be in the eye of the beholder. Maybe they could have found their way back together, even though I don't think that should have ever been the case.
Hmm.
But it was the Sierra thing. So if Sierra
Right.
wasn't involved, this would be a whole different scenario. So I don't think she had any kind of exit strategy, except just like hope and pray. And maybe like, well, I'll be on In the City. I won't have to see Sierra anymore. Like maybe it was just like out of sight, out of mind. But the other thing is just knowing these goofballs, Wes Wilson like crying and compare like the first time he screwed with Sierra that first season, how hard he took it. You had to have imagined these knuckleheads would have talked about, oh my God, the Bravo audience is going to freak out. And so there's this speculation that some people have, well, maybe Amanda thought that they would champion them. Maybe like that
I
people
heard
felt
that.
so bad for Amanda that they would be like, you know what? She deserves a good guy like Wes. Not thinking like, well, we wouldn't think Wes was a good guy anymore. I just don't know how hard they thought. I just don't know how hard they thought it. And I think sometimes when you get to a certain age, there is kind of love that strikes you, but there's also love that builds over time. Like you love somebody and then that love deepens and deepens and deepens. And I think the kind of movie love that I think they want us to believe this is, um, I don't know if I necessarily. There's this
I
one moment in the reunion that I watched today that I loved, where they were talking. Jesse says something in regards to Bailey and Carl, and says, "Oh, think about that." Um, friends before they're
Sometimes it's good to be
lovers.
friends
And
before being in a
Amanda goes,
relationship.
oh, Amanda goes, oh, imagine that. Like thinking that was a line saying like, look, this is what I'm doing and you don't support it. Like friends before lovers, not going, you're not like friends before lovers, but it hurts everybody in the other friend like circle. Um, which by
But
the way, you
let's
guys,
put a
once
pin
again, I
in
want to
that for a
apologize. I'm
sec.
all over the map, you guys. I'm sorry. I'm just like
No, it's
fired
fine.
up.
Let's put a pin in that for a sec because, in that scenario, did we not have a sit down with Bailey and Lindsay where Lindsay says, hey, and Lindsay brings it up. Hey, Bailey, if you want to go for Carl, go for Carl. That's why that's different. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you already had that go ahead. So, okay. I think, yeah, let's get off Amanda and Wes because we've been talking about that for a while. Let's talk about some of the other people in the episode because, as you mentioned at the beginning, like it was a very rich episode. We got a lot from it in
Yeah.
terms of all of the other characters. So, I mean, there was speculation out there that Mia and Scott were no longer together. I was still hopeful, but she did confirm in the episode they're no longer together. I thought it was really interesting. I felt like the show almost became like a learning lesson for her, a trajectory. She made these new friends that summer, and it was that summer she went to see the psychic. And it was the summer she talked a lot in the season about like feeling alone and being alone, which I thought was interesting given that she was in a relationship, albeit one that feels very long distance. But I feel like sometimes Bravo can be bad for people, but I feel like Bravo was sort of good for her. I feel like she learned a lot about herself throughout the summer, and that's why she made that decision afterwards because she wanted to sort of focus more on herself and what she
Yeah.
needed as opposed to what Scott was doing.
But see, Mia seems like that person that was strong going into this show. You
So
know, what
strong.
what I mean by that is that like she is, and not in a selfish way, but she does seem to be concerned for like her overall health and wealth and like what is going to be good. And when you suffer a loss like the loss of your parents, um, that is like a huge hole. And if you're not getting what you need out of your partner, it doesn't mean that Scott has to be this bad guy. It doesn't mean that
Right,
he
of
was out
course
there
not.
cheating and all that. But if you need somebody there, like in your face, you know you need that, then you're going to have to make some really hard decisions in life. And
Right.
that's why it's this great comparison to think of Mia and Amanda on the same stage. One person that can't make strong decisions for herself and one person that can. You know, like, because it would be easier probably for me to be like, well, I'll just be with Scott forever and whatever he says goes. And I'll just be that quiet person that just opens up restaurants with them and hopefully we'll have a family. But she wants more for herself.
Right.
And what I love about that is that it doesn't, she's not going, this Scott was a bad guy. It's like she had to make a tough decision that I'm sure is really hard for her. And she's out there trying to figure herself out. And she's very openly saying, I don't need a guy to fill that up for me right now. I'm going to
Right.
celebrate me. And that kind of confidence is so enviable. My God, I would like that's who, if I was a younger person, those are the type of people I would look up to. Those are the type of people, and for younger Bravo viewers, I want people to see people like Mia. Like those are the people of like, look at that. Like, look at what you can possibly do.
Totally, because it can be very scary to come out of a long-term relationship. Sort of like you said about Amanda earlier, it's like you don't even know who you are. And I think that's actually kind of normal, especially if you're in a long-term relationship, you sort of need to reestablish who you are outside of that relationship. And Mia's like, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and do that. And we saw Amanda, as you said, do the exact opposite, right? She just like latched on to somebody else in the friend group as opposed to spending time alone. Like she said she has this awakening, but
Or
what, for
even
was it a
crazy
day,
thought,
24 hours?
or
How long did you have the
or just
awakening?
crazy thought. Maybe just meet somebody new. I mean, I know that's
Yeah.
hard, but it's like you use this already established. And I wonder in Jesse's darker moments when he's not trying to be a good guy, he's like, God, it could have been me. If
A
I'd only
hundred
texted, if
percent.
I'd only pushed a little harder, if I'd only pushed a little harder, I could have been. I was leaving all those like comments on every one of her thirst posts. What if I had just put, I could have. So I think in retrospect, Jesse's like, God, thank God I didn't. I would have, but I didn't.
I think like totally like the way he acted, like the audacity of all of this, but he totally would have gone for it. He would
Yes.
have asked first, but he would have gone for it.
Yes.
It's got to be polite.
Amazing.
Okay, what do you think about the whole Ben and Bailey thing? So at the time, I did think he was very aggressive with her, and I did notice the way he was speaking with Sabrina Bell in a very like parenting kind of way, like Sabrina Bell, get dressed. Sabrina
Sabrina
Bell,
or
we have
Bell. Yeah.
children. How are we supposed to go on? And then the same way with Amanda. So I didn't love it. I kind of was proud of her for standing up for herself, but I know like the internet is very divided. So where does Ryan
Well,
Bailey
did you
stand?
see what she wrote today?
She said like don't come at him basically, like I'm
Well,
not
she didn't say
trying to.
Ben, but like it was obviously about Ben. And Sabrina Bell wrote something too on
Yes.
Threads.
And she's like, I would know if he was
Stand
a good guy, and he
yeah,
is,
standing up for.
basically.
So first off, as a reality show lover, I was
You?
thrilled with her. What? Yeah, I was no, I was thrilled with Bailey. I was thrilled with Bailey clocking Ben, not because it
Hmm.
was Ben. I don't dislike Ben, but I was just thrilled of like, look at you. Like this is going to be
Yeah.
great for like years to come of like you
Yes.
being able to like succinctly stand up for yourself, even if you're in the right or the wrong or somewhere in between. I do think it was really hard on Ben. And I will say I saw little moments of that of him I it I believe Bailey enough where I'm like, I'm sure there's a lot of stuff on the cutting room floor that we didn't see. And also, if you think about Ben's youth, he grew up, his dad was like a very religious, wasn't he like a
That's
pastor or
right.
somebody like that? And his
Um,
dad didn't talk to him for many years after he had relations with somebody in high school. And I
right.
think that kind of puritanical restraint that's put down on kids and then you fighting against that really teaches, you have to just think about everybody's past.
Okay, but he was on The Bachelor, so I didn't watch the season, but
I
don't you
see.
kiss
I
like
didn't watch
multiple
that
people a
season.
night? You know what I mean? Right? Like
I
it's
would imagine so. But I do find it's great that he clocked her. But what was interesting was that Ben, unless it was edited out, Ben didn't fight back at all. Ben was just like, no, no, no. And I was like, come on, Ben, get in the. But I guess you can't fight back at that point, or you'll fall into that trap of what she says that you talk down to women. Um,
I
I'm
do agree though. He does
curious.
only do that to women. And it's not like I don't know. When I did hear her say that, I was like, oh, like I didn't clock that until she said it. And it is interesting because it's more so that he won't let it go. It's like, fine, ask for an
Yeah.
apology, but then you're like, what is the root cause of this? And it's like, we don't need to know the
Well, and
root
also, what
cause.
happened to that
Like,
scene that we saw? What happened to that scene in the mid-season trailer where Amanda says he did want to fuck me in Italy? That got cut out of the show.
I think it got tagged on to like the Sabrina stuff because you know how we didn't actually we heard her say it, but we didn't see it. So I think it was part of like that episode where she was gonna apologize to Sabrina, but she was saying to Sierra and me, like, he did want to fuck me in Italy. Like, I'm not making this up. Or is in a
But where is
confessional or
that?
something like
Like
that.
that feels like that would have
There's
been a
so many
bigger
things on the floor.
conversation
Levi had
as
a big
well.
shining moment we never got to see at Lindsay's housewarming. That was in the reunion, or sorry, that was in the mid-season trailer.
Oh
We never got to see
yeah, yeah,
that.
yeah. When she stood up for, I think. No, I thought it was a great moment for Bailey. I just, but you know what? I will say this as a guy. I will say these shows can be helpful of like, oh, yeah, like we do have to watch how we speak to people and like kind of check ourselves. And hopefully Ben is listening. And maybe he did listen in that moment. He didn't fight back. And maybe he's listening. It's like, oh, I do have to check myself and correct myself. I was just wondering if there was something on the cutting room floor that we didn't see
Mm.
that was even more intense because the moment of him saying like who's our kids are going to be late, Sabrina Bell, because you're always late. I didn't take that as that big of a deal that moment at all.
No, not a huge deal, but I just noticed a pattern of like just the way he speaks. Like, actually, that moment to me was more of him like speaking to her like a child, like Sabrina Bell, like
Yeah.
put your backpack on, Sabrina Bell. You know what I mean? It just felt like,
But there is wait, but can we be honest? There is a childlike quality about Sabrina
yes.
Bell that we see, you know?
Oh, she's a character. Do you think they'll be back next season? Because I heard that it's like
Well, that
not supposed to be couples and all that.
Bravo and Cocktails had that blind or that person sending in a tip saying that
Right.
they weren't on the cast list, and I thought, oh, Sabrina and because Sabrina seems like she stirs up a little trouble, and now you really got to be on the cast list because we have this relationship with Bailey and Ben that's like
Hmm.
contentious. So then you could almost see a scene with Bailey and Sabrina talking about that moment. It doesn't have to be a fight, but you already have a place to start. And I would say in a normal season, you would cut loose Ben. But
Yeah.
then this season, it kind of galvanizes people. Like you've gone through some sort of weird hell, like Scandival, where you kind of by default have to bring everybody back. But like the people they were bringing back were like, Carl and Kyle was going to be on certain weekends. I was like, who's going to lead the charge to go to the bars? That's all I want to know. You got to, because Carl's not going to lead that charge, rightfully so, and he's going to
Jesse
be
could
there
lead
every
that
weekend.
charge.
Yes, he
Let's go to
could
the
lead
bar.
that charge, but it'll be interesting to see how Jesse moves differently this season after the West of it all. So I don't know. In my head, I would think you do have to bring. I would hope actually bring back Ben and Sabrina, even though on a normal season you wouldn't.
Right. I don't know
What do
why the
you
show is
think?
so focused. Well, initially I thought 100% he was not coming back. He's in this long-term relationship. I think there's something to be said for Bravo continuing to keep you in the loop of things. So Ben and Carl just did like a baseball thing in Chicago last
Yeah,
time,
and they
Chicago.
also they modeled for Bonobos together.
Right. So why would he be doing that if he's not still in the mix?
But
Um,
remember when Luke Goldbrinson was still hanging out with everybody and he was cut from the show.
Hanging out, yeah, but like that was the baseball game was a Bravo event. Like it was Summer House and Bravo. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I just don't know if Luke was necessarily connected in the Bravo way as much. So they're keeping him in the loop that way. I mean, Bravo, what I'm learning is that they very much do pay attention to what we think, and these decisions will come down to like the end of the reunion sort of thing. But yeah, initially I thought, no, he's not coming back. He has a girlfriend. I just don't know why Bravo has such an issue with this show specifically where you can't be in a relationship. Like the Bailey Henderson situation, because I feel like you look at and I don't know what you think, but do you think he was with Sabrina Bell all summer? Because I do.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Like he was lying about that. But Bailey Henderson gets fired for having a boyfriend. She lied about it, right? But did Ben lie about it? I mean, like Bailey's pointing to a picture that
Well, it
was
also
on
seemed like
Instagram from April.
Bailey from last season just stopped showing up. Like from what my understanding
Oh,
was that she just thought like she kind of went ghost on
that's not
people
my
as well.
understanding. My understanding was that she blocked the whole cast from her stories except Amanda by accident. And then Amanda saw her and her boyfriend canoodling, and then Amanda told on her. That's the story I heard.
Amanda, the downfall of another woman. Amanda's like,
Right?
yes, it
That
only makes me
Batuglia.
stronger.
I'm really
And by the way, you
disappointed.
guys, you know what's so funny? Like we're
What?
sitting here like so intense. We've been up all night. We've been watching this thing 4 or 5 times, took detailed notes. Those MFers are over in Italy right now on their phones, looking at a beautiful Rome air. Like I mean, these they probably had first class tickets over to Rome. I'm like, they're on a vacation right now. They're on a just let that fuel your anger about this right now.
In a way, it's smart of them. Like if I were them, which I would never be because, I'm a moral person. But if I were them, I could see it, right? Because the way the internet is uproaring is probably not great for their mental health. But none of this should have happened in the first place. I mean,
Yes, yeah, and by the way, also it was West. I mean, they are happening to go to a wedding, so it
oh,
wasn't
it's a
just like.
wedding. Okay.
So it's like how lucky that a wedding just happened to be like, and I don't think
How
the
lucky
wedding was
people still to talk
staged.
to you.
Well, it seems like Wes is like a popular. I don't know if he gets hired out at these weddings or these are all friends, but it seems like he's getting invited to every wedding known to man this summer. So he's like on a
Yeah.
wedding. Like Tom Sandoval and the Most Extras did a tour after Scandal. He's doing a wedding tour. Like.
Jesse Solomon's doing his little tour. I mean, he was coming to Toronto, and I thought the tickets were $250, which is insane.
Bullshit.
That, like, you're
That was not. It was not $250.
Yes,
Are you?
one of my Toronto friends messaged me. She's like, "Are you going to the show?" I'm like, "No." How much are the tickets? She's like, "No, I'm not going either because they're $250." I'm like, "That's crazy for what you are."
Do you
And I
get to
don't mean to
sleep with him?
downplay
Like
his music.
200. Well, he came to the Troubadour, which is an iconic LA venue, but it was a Monday, and I really was going to go, but like
Hmm.
we do have a newborn, and I was
Yeah,
like, she's in this weird fussy place, and which is like all newborns, and I just thought. First off, I'm an older dude. Like, as much as I would want to see it and it's so funny and I would be able to LOL and tell these stories and probably get a kick out of it,
that's
there
why
is
we
something
go
real.
for the
Yeah,
story.
but there's also something dark about like if something happened to the baby and I'm at a Jesse Solomon concert, like you just never, that's a story that you just will never be able to get out of your head of like,
Right.
like I left my child for a Jesse Solomon concert.
No, but about your age, I mean, it is like Michael Bublé type music, right? It's not like hardcore rock, so it is, I
Oh,
guess, supposed to
if
be
my
for
mom
our
was still
age.
here, my mom would love a Jesse Solomon concert. And I mean that with all, she
Yeah.
loves a Michael Bublé. She loved a Michael Bolton. She loved a Kenny G. She would have the biggest crush on Jesse Solomon.
Okay, moving on to something a little more dark. I want to talk about what KJ was talking about with his mental health. And I do want to just issue a trigger warning here. We're going to talk about this for, let's say, like 5 minutes or so, just in case people are not comfortable with this conversation. But I thought it was extremely brave for KJ to come out and talk about his mental health issues throughout the season in general, because it's not easy. But then he also mentioned during the reunion that he had an episode of self harm. He was in the hospital. He got diagnosed with bipolar and went to a treatment facility of some sort for like a few months. First of all, amazing that Mia and Sierra were really there for him the entire time. I love that. I think, I think there's something to be said when you go through a really hard time. It shows you who your real friends are. And I'll say that, I've gone through my own bouts of anxiety and depression, and I've been in places, maybe not as dark as KJ, but I've definitely had suicidal ideation. And I remember, I want to kind of just tell this story that I had this friend. We were really close friends, and he was actually a therapist. And, I kind of made one of those calls to him, one of those, help calls. And he later told me he didn't feel like the call would like, he didn't feel like we were good enough friends for that. And it wasn't the fact that he was a therapist and he was already dealing with that all day. It wasn't that. He was just like, I felt like we weren't close enough for that. And to me, it's like,
But your friend rejected your call for help?
I mean, he took the call, but he told me later it was, I guess, inappropriate to take the call. But I don't know if he missed that day in school, but you're not making the call because that's your best friend. You're just looking for anyone to answer the phone. I mean, in Toronto, here on the subway lines, they have like help phones just in case, because a lot of people do jump here in Toronto on the subway tracks. That's like a common way that people do end their lives here. So they have like phones now where somebody can make that final call if you want to. And you're not necessarily calling your best friend. You might be calling the police. You might be calling someone for help. Right. And so, again, I just feel like moments like that can really show you who your real friends are, who's really there for you, because these moments, I mean, to even make that call is so difficult, let alone the shame and embarrassment that does come along with having some of these feelings. As much as you can't help them, I do just kind of want to say that I've definitely felt those moments where I'm like, I don't know if I want to share this with someone. I don't know if I want to share this on the podcast. I don't want people to feel bad for me or feel weird about it. But I'm in a great place now. I'm on, a great antidepressants, and KJ was talking about that as well. And I'm so happy for him that he got the help. But yeah, I guess I just really wanted to highlight it, share my experience, and kind of just talk about how important it is to kind of talk about these things on TV. Um, and just the fact that, as much as we talk about these silly reality TV shows, they do have an impact. And when people are open about their experiences, it really does help people.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with everything. I think the thing that's important to remember is that there's going to be a huge segment of the audience that knows exactly what KJ is talking about because they experience it as well. And then there's going to be a whole section of it that will not understand because their mind and their brain chemistry are in a different way
Right.
that they don't have to deal, unfortunately, with, brain chemistry is a very real thing. And so they will empathize and they'll be like, it's so great. They'll be like, oh, this really is true. And then there's going to be a segment of the audience, and you're not going to probably hear from that out loud, that they're not going to understand it. And they're going to be like, that's crazy. That's crazy. But I think it's going to be a very small segment. So, KJ being able to educate people on, not that he's trying to educate people, but being open and honest about those things. I'm on SSRIs. I've um, I've been in very dark places. I've had suicidal ideation. I've been there, and I've been there in places that I still don't talk about on the podcast. But those things are very real. And I've come to accept and that, my brain chemistry is not like everybody else's brain chemistry. And, people like Kyle, I can look up to, well, not look up to, but it's like this guy wakes up in the morning, he's go, go, go. I wake up in the morning and I'm like, stay, 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 and that's no, you're just born the way you're born. So there are things out there, whether it be therapy on top of SSRIs, on top of exercise, on top of talking to people. But my difference is, and this is a great, even what you just said is great, is that when I've gone through those experiences in the past, I don't talk to people. I keep it all inside. I keep it, um, and that's not good. And so it makes me want to have follow-up questions for KJ of, obviously, Sierra and Mia knew. Did everybody else know? Was that a surprise? What happened with Dara? Dara's going to come out. They're obviously still together, but where was Dara in this? What caused him this? Was there usually there's some sort of something that happens, a trigger.
Right.
Also, there isn't a trigger. Sometimes you just wake up and, like Mary Cosby's son says, sometimes life just seems flavorless, like plain chicken, and you don't understand.
That was so
So then my
relatable.
thing was, I'll wake up one day happy, I'll wake up the next day sad. And mine wasn't BPD, bipolar disorder, but what was it for him? What happened? And the best thing is that he got help. The other thing is, just to impress upon people, these things are very real. But I want to know where everybody else was in this scenario. Not that, like, I'm saying that, oh, where were all these other people?
Yeah.
Because he might have just
Nobody
felt
looked
comfortable sharing it.
shocked, but it was hard to tell.
But also these remember this happened after him saying what an amazing summer this had been. Wow. I also part of me was like, oh my God, was it such an amazing summer that there was like a deflation period after that where you're riding this high of all of these new
Maybe.
friends and then having to go back to this sort of like, not normal average life, but like just kind of the normalcy of it all. And there is something about KJ. He's so pure, like he's so pure and I love him so much. I love him so much that I sometimes worry about him on a reality show, not because I don't think
Mm,
mentally he can handle it, but I will say, like, even Carl, like, we love Carl right now. But I remember when we
right
didn't
now.
love Carl. Or I remember when, he was on the show the first seasons. He was a completely different person. And
Right.
that's almost why we love him even so much more now because we've seen, like, it's actual growth. An
Right.
actual growth actual growth in a man. Like, wow. And you can see he's being like clear with his words and he's really trying to think and be consistent and purposeful. And even him saying to KJ, he's like, you're going to do great things, man. Like that relationship, I was like, oh, how beautiful. Like he's like, he can be a big brother to KJ now. But I do worry that sometimes when we're dealing with mental issues and stuff like that, if we lash out in a weird way or we lock ourselves away, and depending on how an edit goes or how that, it's like, I just don't know if sometimes like he's seen what West is going through right now. Not that I think KJ would ever be in this cheating scandal or something, but I do worry that like everything's like everybody's so positive and in favor. But I've seen us do that. And then when we
Daniel
see
Bucco.
one thing, yeah, I mean, yes. And right, and I think
Look
rightfully
how the
so.
audience flipped on that.
I just do worry about that because he seems to not, I don't, enjoy is not the right word. He seems to really deeply appreciate how much support he has gotten from the audience. And I think sometimes that support is so beautiful. And, but it can also, it's like that double edged sword when it comes back the other way.
Right.
And I'm not saying that he's ever going to do something. I just hope everybody's understanding this. It's just that I just sometimes worry that he's so real that sometimes, like Kyle's like, the best businessman he's like a yes man. He's a company man. Like he's
Yeah.
out there promoting in the city and all that. Like in terms of like a man, hey, she cheated on me, but you gotta watch In the City. It's the best. Like he's out there, smiling through his own personal pain because he
Yeah.
knows at the end of the day, I want to be in business with Bravo. I want this to help my business. And I don't mean this in a greedy way, but he's just like he's a company man.
Yeah, he's a
KJ's
go-getter.
yeah, and he's been a part of this for 10 years.
Right.
He does not take this lightly. Bravo loves Kyle, and Kyle loves Bravo. So I worry sometimes about KJ in that sense going forward,
Yeah.
even though I
I see what you're
love
saying.
him.
And it is pretty rare when somebody gets like universal love like that. Like he is getting quite a bit. I mean, I did see him say maybe last week started to get some hate, and like Dara has been getting a lot of hate, which comes out of nowhere, in my opinion.
Oh God. Well,
Like
it's because
literally nowhere.
we really, I mean, listen, I even have to check about, we really do hate women, it's like, well,
At
sometimes like we
all. Like,
really
why are
do
we
see,
hating her? We don't
but
know her.
but what's strange about that is like, I see women hating women stronger than men hating women. That's the part I don't get. Like, listen, I'm very angry in a parasocial way with Amanda Batula. Like that one, it is more upsetting to me than West because the West thing doesn't surprise me. But I will, the Dara thing didn't make sense to me
Yeah.
at all. The hate she was getting because I was like, I don't get it. It seems like they really like each other on both sides,
And he's made a lot
unless
of
there's a piece
good.
I don't know.
Yeah, right. I mean, unless yeah, I mean, there was that hot wings thing, but it was just out of nothing. Like where Lindsay said, like, oh, someone that might be here for famous Dara. But I really don't think like even she's taken that back, where she was just like answering a joke on a game or something to that in that regard. But like, I mean, KJ has made good points where I mean I didn't know Dara, but she already had a huge following before. She had a podcast. She's already an influencer. So she already had fame in her own right. They've been together a year. If we find out that they were still together throughout his hard period, which I'm sure they were, then she's a stand-up gal. Like, what's the issue? Yeah.
Well, I think sometimes, it's like you see a beautiful girl that seems
How
like
dare she be so beautiful?
well, but also maybe there's like residual like, oh, you screwed with West. Ugh, gross.
I mean, apparently, I only saw a small clip, but apparently, next week at the reunion, she is going to hand it to him. And so I do appreciate that as somebody who has had a history with him and actually knows him. Yeah, I want to see her hand it to him on a plate for sure.
God, it would be crazy if somebody can get a photo in Italy of Amanda and Wes fighting. It's not going to happen, but
I think it would because we already see her doing these little things. Like, did you see in the extended version
yeah,
where he's like clicking his jaw and she's like,
I
don't
know.
do
Yeah,
that when
yeah,
you're
yeah.
talking? And
Don't
then
do
there
that
was
when
the
you're talking.
baseball,
The baseball
the
game. Act
baseball
like
game
you
where it's
like
like,
me at
act like you
least.
like me. So, oh, and even during the season where she comes in one day and Wes is like, Amanda comes in complaining. So he's going to realize who she is. You know, I mean, like, I don't know that he's necessarily going to like the person that she is. I think there's something to be said for what Kyle said on last episode of In the City. I think it was the first episode where he's like, he's going to get the version of you that I fell in love with. And I so know what that means when you're bright
Yeah.
eyed and bushy tailed at the beginning of a relationship and you're going out and you're doing all of these things. But that's not who Amanda is. Well, who is she? Who
Well,
is she? That's
but
how
but
we
I
should end
think
this. Who is
I
Amanda
think she
Batula?
I think she's wondering who she is still. I think and by the way, a lot of us are probably wondering who we are still. And
Fair.
this could have been this kind of enviable journey that she was on. Like imagine this didn't happen and Amanda goes into this next season solo and she's out and about and she's trying to, like but we're just not we're all wired differently. And I would empathize and sympathize with Amanda so much more if she didn't actively because there's no way in hell that she didn't know this was going to hurt Sierra. And
Right.
it was also going to send shockwaves throughout this house because you got to look at this not just as friendships, but also a business. You're also messing with people's business. And I don't mean in a la la Kent, like, you're fucking with my paycheck. I don't mean it like that. These people genuinely seem like they all really liked each other and were, I believe that they consider themselves family more than I do any other Bravo show. Like Vanderpump, even though it wasn't fake, there was this element of, shine to it that there
Yeah.
was a little Hollywood bullshit to it. And
Right.
Summer House didn't necessarily fall victim to that, I think. So um, she really did mess it up because I see no future for Amanda ever on Summer House, at least for, the next three. I mean, there's just no way. Nobody would feel comfortable hanging out with her or talking with her.
And people have
Except, you
made
know
the
what?
point.
Bailey said she reached out to Amanda. Remember on Watch What Happens
Mhm.
Live after the reunion, she, reached out to her. So Bailey, it seems like, has left a door open. You know that Carl will be friendly to her because they have such a long history friendship. Jesse will be friendly with her because he's
Lindsay said that she
Jesse.
was going to be reaching out and getting together with her, I
Yeah,
think.
but it's different.
It's different. And, I'll just make the point that a lot of other podcasters are making that Amanda is sort of the only one that wasn't cast for this show. She was just sort of indoctrinated in as Kyle's girlfriend. So, like, that could change things. I mean, like, do you have like the same reason to be here as everybody else? I don't know, in a way.
Yeah, I mean, what do you want to see?
Oh gosh, great question. Season 11. I want to see. I do want to see Kyle, and I want to will see him until the show is called Retirement House.
Yeah,
Way more
yeah,
interested in
yeah.
that. I'm okay to see Carl back maybe one more season, but he is the house dad. Love Bailey, want to see her back. I want to give Levi a second shot. I think it's really
Yeah.
unfair that because it's not always about the person. Like we know with him Rule, his stuff was cut, right? So it's not that he wasn't talking. This stuff was cut. So give her the option. Don't cut her stuff. Let's let Levi shine. I love KJ and Dara, so I'd love to have them back. Mia, of course.
But it's hard
Sierra, I'd
because you
love
have
to
to
have
then
back, but is she on to big and better things? Like, has she become the Ariana Maddox of the situation?
in a sense, but if you stick with that group, those are friends that have bonded through something, so you would have
Right,
this shorthand. But you then have to, and I'm fine with this, but you have to change the overall thesis of the show. A
right.
summer house where people come and party at, like you have to. And I don't know who I was joking with last week, where I was like, at a certain point, you're at these things and you're like, hey, um, can I just go in my room and read a book? Like, can I,
Right.
you mind if
That's
I
why I can
just,
never do this, where I'm like, I just want to be alone. I just
yeah.
need a few
I mean, Carl's
minutes.
a little at that place, but he still hangs out. Like, at this point in my life, would find it so boring if I had to go out every night where it would just be like misery. Like,
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
would hate
I love
that
to watch it, but I would hate to be a part of it. So,
for sure.
um, I don't know. You do have to switch it up, but in that switch up, it would make me very sad because, it's like it is possible to like and love new people. It happens every year on reality TV, but there is something special about this group. So you have to find a way to somehow honor that.
And I think it's okay to bring in a couple new people. And I think this show has always done a good job about cycling people in and out in like little bits, as opposed to like New Roni, where it's like, hey, let's get rid of the entire cast and bring on an entire new cast. I think doing it in like these little bits is a great way. It took us a really long time to find newbies that we liked, like a really long time. So that's why I want to like
Yeah.
stick with all of these newbies, but I wouldn't be opposed to one or two extra new people. But I think and I think you agree that this will all sort of come down to what happens at the end of the final part of the reunion, but we just don't know what's going to happen with Amanda West and Kyle in terms of where they land TV wise. I feel like we're just
Well,
not going
listen,
to have an
Kyle will
answer.
shoot with anybody. Kyle's made it
No,
very open that he will
he
shoot with
will,
anybody.
but what's Bravo going
He
to
already
do?
shot with West.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, what are they
So
going to want him for? Are they going to want him back on Summer House? Are they going to want him primarily on In the City? Do we want to see Amanda and West together on In the City? But is that fair to put them on Summer House with Sierra? Like, right, like there's so many
oh
questions.
yeah. I mean, In the City would be interesting. I mean, they could live without seeing them, but there is like this sick curiosity because they would become the punching bag couple. I mean, just as
Right.
a podcaster, I would love it because you would be able to like
Yes,
make so much material out of it. I
of
can already
course.
like the joking about it. I would love that just from a creative standpoint. But I don't need to see that, but I would love to see how that operates because if they're still together by the second season of In the City, you'll really be able to see where that's headed. You'll be
They
able to read
can't
on
be.
West's face immediately, and at a certain point, just like it did with Amanda, it gets tiring going out to the bars. Like she was tired with Kyle. It's going to eventually get tired with West as well. Like,
Yeah.
where's your Jenny Garth, Kelly Taylor, I choose me moment, Amanda? Where
Right.
is the I choose me moment? And who knows if we'll, and it's sad because when she does have that moment or that realization, it's going to be weird to see who's there to support her still.
I mean, yeah, like you said earlier, I want these friends to sort of come out of the woodwork. Even this Katie person, like, can somebody make a black screen white writing? This is my friend, and I love her, and she's not a bad person. The fact that not a single person has done that is
Well,
telling,
and
don't you
that's what
think?
I'm thinking. Maybe today that'll happen from Katie DeLuca. Maybe like somebody's gonna have to stand up for Amanda besides Kyle.
But
Kyle's the
it's
only one
telling.
still standing up for Amanda in a sense. I don't. By the way, I don't need to stand up. I'm not standing up for
Yeah,
Amanda. But you would imagine one of these imaginary friends that she keeps saying that she has that aren't West friends would come
right.
out and be like. And also the new West friends, they don't know Amanda as Sierra's friend or Kyle's wife. They
Good
just know
point.
her as the one that's hanging out with Wes. So they're like, yeah, she's cool, dude. She ripped a beer bong. It was fucking awesome?
Okay, before I let you go, I just want to talk about what happened right at the end of the episode when Sierra says, and I like quoted this because this is so good, when they're basically talking about whether West and Amanda will make it. She's like, or maybe they'll be together because I honestly think that the best woman for West is like someone who's not going to check him on anything. And that's totally Amanda. Like she's very mute. She's going to be that weak figure that he needs, and he can always be the star in the relationship. And then Kyle starts to get kind of teary eyed because it's so complicated for him. It is because he
Yeah. He goes, that
loves
was a little
her.
harsh. That was a
He
little
says it's
harsh.
harsh, but I loved it from Sierra. We rarely see her have moments like that. I'm just glad that she just really spoke her truth during this entire thing, didn't waver. We don't normally see her, yeah, like that outspoken, but I just loved that she just really stood in her truth. And it was harsh, but I liked it.
Well, it was harsh. It was harsh because it was true.
Yeah.
Because the Amanda
Oof.
that we know, and like the reason Kyle was harsh, because that's what she was to Kyle as well. Like that's she was the mute in the corner that like did whatever Kyle, and Kyle was the star. You're
Right.
like that's it. It's like it was like the perfect thing to say in its
Yeah.
harshness because it was like holding a mirror up to Amanda's past and Amanda's future, and Sierra also getting that one off, but also then realizing the shrapnel of like Kyle, not a full victim, but somebody that is, has a lot of love for Amanda and realizing like, oh, that's what she was to me as well. It was so dark. It was so rattling. And the fact that like it's just another one of those examples, which you'll see through all three of these parts of Wes not standing up for Amanda, not standing up for his girl at all, going, yo, watch your mouth. Watch your mouth. Like, like
What
that's
happened
that's
to you
crazy.
pulling up
That's
a
not
chair, man?
true. Yeah, she's a huge star. Like nobody is saying this isn't true except for Kyle in a
Right.
very soft, meek voice. And it was totally earned. It was a I mean, it was like, it was a
Cinematic.
great line. It was
Yeah.
great, great line. Like it was like, you had to have thought about that. You had to have workshopped that with like some friends. I don't know if Paige was involved in that. I'm not
If
saying
she
these things are
didn't,
scripted.
how iconic, right?
I mean, just
Either
to,
way,
to
it's
have that
iconic.
come off the dome, it was a chilling way to end it.
Yeah.
I think the upsetting part is just to realize, oh God, we have 2 more weeks of this when you just kind of want all the information out on the table
Right.
now.
I wish they treated it almost like a Netflix thing where they dump you with like 6 episodes at once because that's what we need. Like, I've been salivating at the mouth. Like, am I supposed to call in sick every week? Like, there's just so much going on between now and I just need it all. And then there ends up being like more tea in between the weeks as well, right? With West releasing podcasts, with photos of them like gallivanting everywhere. It's never ending. I'm still not bored of it, so I'm happy that this is still continuing on. But at the same time, I'm salivating at the mouth for those other two parts for sure.
Oh yeah, I mean, obviously, I mean, there is a part of me that just wants it to be over for my own health and for
Right.
my, just
eh,
so I can hang with my baby more. But
eh.
and also but also to prep the audience 2 weeks from now is that we do have to go back to normal at some point. There's a lot of other great shows on. There's a lot, it's like everybody's so feverish about this, and we will, there was not an end to Scandal, but there was a point where it was like, okay, and that was
Let's
hard for
touch
me because I
grass.
was in deep.
No, I remember saying to my dad, who had no idea what any of this stuff even was, like doesn't even know. He's like, "What's a Vanderpump?" Right? I'm just like, I just don't know what to do with myself now. And he just looked at me like really
Yeah.
confused. I'm like, I after the third part, I remember I was just like, I don't know what to do with myself now.
There's only so many, and you have to like make room for like future storylines, future seasons, future shows. It's like if we're still talking about this when Summer House starts filming again in July, you do have to make a not a clean break, but there will have to be a break at some point.
Ryan, thank you so much for being here today. I very much appreciate it. Please tell the people where they can follow you and watch you and all the things.
Oh yeah, it's so bad it's good. Don't worry, it's there. I'm not here to promo anything. I'm just here to. And by the way, guys, this really was my first thing of the day. I'm going on very little sleep, so I know I was like a little bit much. I'm aware of that, but
Never.
I'm a fan like anybody else. I mean, this is stuff that I'm truly working through in my mind where I went to bed thinking about this, and I'm waking up
Same.
thinking about this, and I fell asleep on TikTok. And TikTok, it'll just keep playing the same clip over and over again while you sleep. And I sleep with an
Oh, it
AirPod
does.
in.
Oh my God.
And so there was like some
So you
Summer
had
House
dreams
clip
about like
that
Kyle and Amanda or
yeah, I
West and
must have
Amanda?
fell asleep on some Summer House clip that must have played like, 100 times in my head. So I'm rattled right now. I'm still at the Summer House.
I loved all of your thoughts today. This was an amazing episode. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you guys. Have a great day, everybody.
Thank you for listening to the Bravo Investigator podcast. You can follow me on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads at the Bravo Investigator. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel and join the Facebook page. If you enjoyed the show, please leave a 5-star review.